to the Quiet Warrior Show, where we help top leaders find their pathway to incredible success and a lifetime of happiness. Here is your host, Tom Dutta, the Quiet Warrior.
Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Quiet Warrior Show. Why am I holding my mic like that? I must be nervous this morning. It's Tom Dutta like butter. And I got a great guest. He's in the green room. He's looking at me on my screen. You can't see him yet. That's by design. I want to start off by having some bragging rights. And you know what? I get to do this because of you. So let's put this on the screen. We're excited to share some success. So we're live streaming. That means we're on LinkedIn, Facebook, YouTube, Rumble, which is one of my greatest new feeds, and X. And you can see on the screen there, for those who are on the audio only, that we have been rated by FeedSpot, a rating agency, as the number 2 CEO podcast in the United States, also the top 20 Canadian leadership podcasts, and then just recently by Million Podcasts. And I tell you, there's more than 1 million podcasts in the world, that we are in the top 100 storytelling podcasts. Now, how does that all happen? It happens because of you and because of the quality of the show. But what makes the quality of the show is the guests that come on and bring it. So thank you very much, everybody. Give us a like, subscribe to the YouTube channel. It helps us get the analytics to share this great story with everybody. Now, what I want to do is tell you a little bit about the guest, and then I have something to share with you to turn him inside out before I bring him on. His name's Jeff Burningham. And what am I reading? This is his book here, which we'll get into. Jeff has started, run, or been an early investor in over a dozen companies in tech and real estate valued at over $1 billion. He got his start building a tech startup as an undergrad, sold it to a NASDAQ-listed company. That's a show in itself, by the way. He co-founded Peak Capital Partners, a real estate investment firm with over $5 billion in assets, and Peak Ventures, one of his state's premier early-stage VC firms, and he's from Utah. In 2020, not long ago, he ran for governor in Utah, and today he sits on many boards of those companies he's invested in. He's an entrepreneur. He's a podcaster. He mentors others. And what's really cool is we'll talk about his soulmate, Sally, and their 4 children plus 1 grandchild. So he and I have leveled up on that. He's got a few interesting hobbies. We'll get into that as well. But before we do that, how would you like to know Jeff from the inside out? So let me just set this up. We'll edit this and clean it up later. We are live streaming, so stand by. What would it be like to know Jeff from the inside out? So stand by, everybody. All right, here we go. There are moments in this show when a guest arrives carrying a story that feels like a signal flare from the future, a wake-up call for anyone willing to listen. When I opened Jeff Burningham's book, the last book written by a human, I expected a conversation about AI. What I found was a conversation about us, about the moment when everything collapses and something ancient inside us, it begins to rise. Jeff takes us in to the silence after his political defeat, into the ache of identity unraveling, into the loneliness of a governor's race ending in a room lit only by a phone screen. And then he takes us somewhere far older, the banks of the Ganges, where bodies burn, people sing, water churns, something whispers. It whispers, wake up, remember. He writes like a man who has died once and come back seeing differently. Tonight, Jeff and I step into the new game together. Not the game of achievement, but of awareness. Not the game of noise, but of listening. Not the game of human doing, but human being. He believes AI, artificial intelligence, is not our threat. Our unconsciousness is, and that the call of our time is not to build faster machines, but to build wiser humans. If you've ever felt the old game dying inside you, if you stood at the edge of your own life, wondering, what now? This is your moment. And Jeff Burningham is the voice at the river saying, follow me. There is something new on the other side. Welcome to the show, Jeff.
Tom, wow. I felt that, man.
Did you?
Thank you. You got the book. You got it. You got the
Yeah.
message. You felt it.
Let's have fun in stereo. You hold it up too there, okay? Do you have it by
Yeah.
you there?
The last book written by a human. I mean, we are humans. And I felt that in my body, your like intro. And we need to AI is not embodied. There's so much wisdom in our bodies and we often put them down. We don't like our bodies. We don't feel. We need to come back to our feeling. Really, this era, in my opinion, is about more heart and less mind. And I felt heart in your introduction. So, Tom, thank you for having me. And sorry I was a couple minutes late, running around, but I'm really excited for this conversation.
Oh, me too, Jeff. And you're a great guy. I have to say that, and we're going to get into the book in a minute because I'm going to take you into a special place called Plato's Garden. And
Cool.
but I listened to the audiobook and you sound just like your voice, man. So it's awesome. I feel like I already know you. In fact, a little bit of self-disclosure. I'm lying in bed with my earbuds on beside my beautiful Italian wife, Anna, and I got Jeff in my ear. How's that for a third party?
That's romantic, man. That sounds sexy. Sorry.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, Jeff. Well, listen, I have another question for you. Would you like to go into Plato's Garden with me?
I thought about it and I'm in. So
All
yes.
All right. Let's set this up, everyone. We'll edit this out later. What it would be like to do critical thinking in Plato's Garden with Jeff Burningham. Well, everybody, here we are in Plato's Garden, and on the screen, for those who can see it, I'll talk it out. Plato was an Athenian philosopher during the classical period in ancient Greece. He was the founder of the Platonist school of thought and the academy, from the Greek word academia, apparently the first institution of higher learning in the Western world, Jeff. And so today what we're going to do, and Jeff, you may not even know it, but you'll feel it in your body. We're going to be talking to you and telling stories, but taking you through three areas. We call this the influences of context. So everyone, what we're doing is we're going to be going into macro. What was happening in the global world around Jeff that impacted his public works that you heard about? Mezzo is the sector. What was happening in his sector or industry that influenced him in his work? And then third, Jeff, my favorite, micro, what was happening with you, the man, personally, that influenced your works? And in this case, some people take us right back to childhood, maybe even the day they were born. So let's get into it. I'm going to just full screen you there. I'm going to throw something out and then we'll just get riffing on it. So we'll start with, get into micro. So when did you first feel the old game collapse inside you?
Plato's Garden. Here we are. I've never been here before. I like it.
It's talking it out, walking and talking, man.
Yeah, I would say maybe on the banks of the Ganges River. That was about 8 years ago, 8 or 9.
Yeah.
That's where I start the book. But my wife and I are surrounded by commotion, emotion, feelings, smells, sights, sounds. And as we get to the banks of the Ganges, this is in Varanasi, India, where they have the nightly festival, this like sense of awe came over us. And I was looking upon a scene that as a Westerner, as a Christian, was not familiar to me. To the left, do you care if I just lay it out for you a little bit here, Tom?
Yeah, I'm visual, man. Do it.
To the left, about 50 yards down, there were bodies with a single white sheet placed over them, dead bodies.
Yeah.
That were being walked around by people with just kind of a loincloth on and then lit on fire right in front of our eyes.
Wow.
Like death is right there. It's more visceral. We're so protected from that in the Western US. And so I didn't even recognize what that was at first, but just an hour or two later, those ashes from a body would be swept into the Ganges. Downstream, right in front of us, there were pilgrims and locals, I assume, baptizing themselves through the ashes of death. Shouts of ecstasy filled the air. They were being reborn. And then to the right, again, another 50 yards or so down to the right, there was an army of people, a lot of people just doing the laundry. One of the most mundane tasks of the day.
Yeah, slamming it on the rocks,
Yeah, yeah, and dipping it and as I sat there, the sun was setting. It was the golden hour. I'm just trying to go back there. And this was a scene that was so foreign to my lived experience, but felt so familiar to me. And what I realized as I sat there for a couple hours, just in awe and wonder, was that this is a great metaphor for the existence that we're living. It's, in my opinion, in a micro level and a macro level,
Yeah.
a never ending cycle of life, death, and rebirth. That our breath mimics this, the rising and setting of the sun mimics this. And we feel this. And now to take it to the book a little bit, just I think that AI is causing a quote unquote collective death amongst humanity, and that we will be reborn, let's say, and hopefully what I advocate for in the last book written by a human, hopefully we transform and evolve in a higher and holier way. We focus on the best of our human nature. And so, yeah, that's the first answer that I could have for that question.
First of all, I'm going to give you an A+. I don't know if I could go higher than that for telling a story and painting a picture. Let's put something on the screen here, and I'm just going to riff with you. See, Jeff, this is not talking yet interviewing. I'm going to riff and tell stories back to you. This, I was bragging about the book that I listened to the audiobook at the same time reading it, and you sound exactly like you do in there. Why? Just give us the short answer. What the title of the book? What was behind that? It's very clever, I think.
Yeah, thank you. Two things. Number one, I wrote every painstaking word in this book. Could you feel the humanity in it, Tom, as you read it?
Totally. Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
AI could have never written a book like this.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to hold on to what makes us human. Let's say art that makes us human. And so number one, and a little spoiler alert, actually the foreword was written by ChatGPT, but the rest of the book was written by myself. And it was a vulnerable, painstaking process.
Okay, let's put some on the screen.
Yeah. Number two, let me finish real quick. Yeah. Number two, I thought of 2024, 25, now 26, that we're in. The world is moving so fast. We are so divided politically, economically, a bunch of other ways. Let's say that I just landed here. I'm 48 years old. As a 48-year-old guy, everything was happening. I could feel this energy in the air. And now AI, highly intelligent machines, are coming on the air. Are coming into our ethos and into our path. What would I want to read? This is what I'd want to read. The last book written by a human. It's kind of a guidebook, honestly, to myself for where we are at, what reality really is, and then, hopefully a more beautiful path forward. So those are the two reasons the book was called The Last Book Written by a Human.
Yeah, I'll just flash up the larger picture there and take it off the screen. I was going to put my studio cam on again here just to show that one of the things I really like about it, the format, and we're going to honor you later with an online live review of this, but the pages are kind of almost like a biblical parchment kind of, and there, I didn't show this in the beginning. I'm going to put it on my second camera, actually put it on this one. When I was reading about you, that's a beautiful picture of Jeff's family there. Yeah. You get a few more surprises in the book. The last thing I'll say, and then
Tom, the outside is the machine, right? Look at the shiny outside.
Yeah, exactly.
And then the inside, like you said, is the parchment. It's the messiness of being human. Like I was trying to. I viewed this as a little piece of art.
That's very cool.
Offering to the divine. Yeah.
One more thing I want to feature about the book is, and this is very unusual, you take the jacket off and you see that beautiful cover. Now that costs money, everyone. I'm an author, and a lot of authors, they don't put that much effort in their books. So Jeff, I want to just say congratulations on getting that done. Let's go back into Plato's. You said a lot there. I know the answers, but some of the audience may not know. I'm in Canada, you're in the United States. Ganges, tell me the country and the year that you were there.
Yeah, that was India almost exactly, actually, sorry, 9 years ago. It would have been about this time in 2017.
Very cool.
Varanasi, India is the holiest city
Awesome.
for Hindus across the world.
Yeah. Thank you, man. Well, just sharing back with you, my father passed away in 2018. I miss him, but he was born in Fiji, but he is a Hindu, and he practiced the Mormon faith. There's a lot of threads to you in that, and then he became a commanding officer in the British Army. And
Wow.
we came to Canada when I was 4, and I'm baptized Catholic when I was a kid. I'm Christian, so we have a lot in our stories about faith. Getting back into Plato's here, let's keep going. So back into the micro, what part of you, Jeff, had to die before you could write this book, if any?
Yeah, I think the part of me that had to die, and I would say this is true for all of us, is the part that was looking outside of myself for answers, outside of myself for validation, for success. I talk about in the book climbing my little mountain of success. And I've been a successful entrepreneur here in the state of Utah for 20 plus years. Ran a statewide campaign for the governor's office, lost during the pandemic, as you said. Anyways, I've done a bunch of things. And I talk about getting to the top of the mountain in the book and there being nothing up there. What I say actually is only a cold, howling wind. Void, I said, and even more void on top of that.
Yeah.
So the point is, the answers that we're looking for as humans are not found outside of ourselves. We get distracted by this, I'll say, illusory world and by all the commotion, our egos. But what we're really searching for, in my opinion, is already inside of us. So I had an ego death, quote unquote, you could say. My little stage was demolished by running for governor, which was the purpose of running. I see now in hindsight. I did not know this then, but I was dissolving my stage so that I had nowhere to look except inside myself. And let me just say real quick how this relates to the age of AI. As highly intelligent machines become better and better at doing
Yeah.
so much of what we're used to doing, what are we, Tom, you and I and everyone else, what are we left with? We're left with our being.
Yeah.
And we can come back to ourselves, go inside ourselves, remember more clearly who we really are and what reality really is. And from that place, we can build, with the help of AI, a more beautiful future for all of us, where AI is focused on human flourishing instead of human division.
Yeah, that's awesome. AI, artificial intelligence, everyone. Jeff, you're talking to somebody who embraces it. I took a couple of courses, so I know what the word prompt means. Again, this is about featuring you in the book. One of the things I really enjoyed about the format was that at the end of each chapter, you've got the word prompt and then a question that asks you. And so when I give it back to you, maybe you can just comment on what prompt means for the audience. But I wanted to ask you that the gubernatorial race, now that you've brought that up, first of all, educate our audience. Gubernatorial, that word itself, not everybody knows what that means. But when was that, and which emotion did you resist most after your gubernatorial defeat?
Yeah, so there's a governor of every state, the 50 states in the United
Yeah.
States. They're kind of like the president and CEO of a state, but in a political office. So that's what a governor is. So I ran a statewide campaign for over 18 months, had 100 or so full-time staff plus volunteers that were
Wow.
helping me get there. What was the most difficult thing about all of this, Tom, was that the most critical months of the campaign that year in the state of Utah were literally March, April, May, and June of 2020. And so I was running against two very well-known political candidates. One had been our previous governor and run for president of the United States, actually, John Huntsman Jr.
Yeah.
And then one was our lieutenant governor, who is now our governor. Anyways, what I resisted most was the pain that came from being an underdog, running a great race. But imagine, I grew up as a high school football quarterback and point guard. I love team sports. And imagine you're a little behind, but you have a plan, you have a point. It's the start of the fourth quarter of
Yeah.
the game, or for Canadians, maybe the third period in hockey. And the ref comes out and says, the game's over. Like, we're calling the game. All the rules are gone. All of us need to wear masks. We can't get together, socially. The entire game changed overnight, quote unquote. And I talked about in the book, you might remember, and this is my home office, this little blue couch over here. I talked about, yeah,
Nice. Love it.
sitting on this couch, laying on this couch actually around midnight. It was like March 7th or 9th, 11th, somewhere in there, right after the full heat of the pandemic was coming into the United States. And I just wept because I knew that the game, so to speak, for me as a political outsider was over. It was
Yeah.
changed. It was done. I built large companies, like you said, and whenever there's massive disruption, there's a flight to safety. We see this in economic markets, but you see it in every market, including politics. And so what was the likelihood that a voter who was familiar with two well-known political candidates was going to take a chance on an upstart entrepreneurial candidate like Jeff Burningham in the midst of the pandemic? I just knew that was not going to work. So I finished the campaign with all my heart, might, and soul.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
really all. That's the only way I know how to do things. But I ended up losing. So, and I would say it took me a year or so to kind of get over the way that I lost. It was things out. It was circumstances outside of myself that I could not control. Change is the only constant. And I'll just say 6 years ago, right now, the world was about to change, or the United States, Canada, because of a global pandemic that we did not understand, that we did not fully see coming. And it ruined a lot of plans, including my plan to, run and hopefully win the governor's
Yeah.
race here in Utah.
Well, thanks for sharing all that. So again, I'm going to riff with you for a little bit, Jeff. You gave us a lot there. First of all, I've put on the screen the beautiful space there. I really like. I'm getting a sense. So everybody, we're beginning to build out sort of the critically deeper meaning of Jeff the man, not just Jeff the professional. But everything's neat and orderly and tidy. And like you said something that evoked something in me earlier. You said that you put all your heart into it and you finished. So you're a guy who does finish. And so when I look at the back there, there's something on the wall there. It looks like a snowboard or something. What is that?
It's a surfboard. It's a wake surfboard. I love wake surfing. I love, water skiing, wake surfing, snow
So taking
skiing,
risk. Taking a bit of risk there. That's awesome.
This is a wake surfboard that I broke while I was writing it several years ago. So I just turned it into a little piece of art here in my office. Yeah.
Awesome. We're going to stay in micro and have one more question on that to throw out and talk about. But some of the things you said you knew or you were familiar with the two other candidates in the race. When I give it back to you, just riff on this. Did you know them personally? Did you spend time with them, or was just you're familiar? And then you said something really insightful that I experienced in my life. You said something about the stage, and you built I had the word why. Why does anybody go and run for governor? Because I know a lot about your system down there. I know a lot about Canada, and man, you basically give up your life in different ways, the privacy, and it's a tough business also. And some people get ruined through it. So the part about burning, when I was a corporate CEO, I burned my boat and decided to go do something and build a platform. But what was interesting is it took a lot of pain in my life to burn that boat and say, I was searching for significance. I was searching for the biggest paycheck and the titles, not realizing there's something deeply missing inside me. And when I read your book, it blew me away because there's so many threads that I connected to. So just take it back and comment on a couple of things I asked you there.
Yeah, I knew the candidates very well. I knew them before. Again, I'm a well-known figure in Utah, in my home state. And so, yes, I knew all the candidates, and it was a statewide campaign. We probably had, before the pandemic hit, there were probably 20 or 30 large kind of public events where all the candidates were there.
Yeah,
So not
yeah.
only did we know each other, we were campaigning against each other. And might I also say, friendly. We're still friends. So, I know the current governor well, and I know John well. And so, yes, we
awesome.
knew each other then. Yeah. Was I searching for significance? There's definitely got to be some truth in that, I would say. We're all a function, or most of us, I hate to say like all, I think most humans are a function of unconscious patterns
Yeah,
that we aren't even aware of,
yeah.
that we grow up. They come from our family of origin. You could say we get programmed, kind of like AI gets programmed. We get
That's right.
programmed up, and that came from a faith tradition, a Mormon faith tradition that I grew up in. My family of origin, which was not totally peaceful, and that's how all family systems are. It was not perfect. And so I think I was searching for some significance, even more so. What had happened, and you read the book, Tom, so you understand, the old game had started to die
Yeah,
within my heart and soul. And the old game to me is this old game of kind of accomplishment, winning, competition. You could maybe say, in the worst sense, like greed or acquisition of things. That started to die kind of in my soul about 10 years ago, you could say in my mid to late 30s. And so, really, I wanted to have an impact, or was trying to have an impact.
yeah,
The issue facing Utah is growth. We've been growing massively. And so I thought it would be really, and I, as a venture capitalist, had been funding a lot of that growth in the early stage technology sector in the state. And I thought it would be interesting to have someone who was intimately familiar with the growth that was coming to Utah, an entrepreneur, outside the box thinker, ensure that our state had a smart plan for growth. Because, with growth comes inflation and housing issues and, all the things. I had a smart plan for that, more than the other politicians did, I will
yeah,
confidently say.
yeah,
And so I was searching to make a difference, to serve, to have an impact. That's what I tell myself. And there was certainly a lot of that. I'm sure there also was probably some part of searching for meaning or significance. Again, searching to fill a hole inside of
sure.
myself that, like I said earlier, can only be filled from the inside out, not from the outside in. So
Yeah,
yes, I'm sure there was part of that, but my heart was in the right place. And, I was there to serve. And that's what I think our politicians should be, by the way. I think they should be public servants, serve for a season and get out. The two people I was running against, and there were some others, but they were career politicians. They had made their career in that regard. And so yeah,
yeah.
that's a
No,
great
yeah,
introspective question. And
yeah.
let me just say one last thing to like wrap it up.
Sure.
Looking back a year after I lost, I realized that the reason my subconscious had pulled me into that race, because I considered running for like a year. I felt so compelled to run. And again, I'm an outsider. I'm not a politician. Well, I was like, why was that? Why did I feel so compelled? Well, again, my subconscious was disintegrating the little stage that I had built for myself, all the boards I was on, all the titles I held. That went away to run a statewide campaign, and then to lose into COVID, it provided the opportunity for a fresh start. You could say it was a death.
Yeah,
Like, and then here is the rebirth, right? Yeah.
yeah. It's interesting because I use 3 AI tools. So many people know ChatGPT. I know you know all this. I use Anthropic. These aren't commercials, by the way. I use that, and I use Google Gemini, and I embrace it. And I'm February 12th is a big day for me because I'm being examined for my doctorate degree, and it took me. And I
Congratulations.
thank you. And I was just thinking as you were talking, if I was in your shoes, I might go into ChatGPT and prompt it and say, hey, knowing everything you know about me and my book, here's a manuscript. What do you see as some of the learnings from my experience with the governor's race and the outcome? And one of the things I also do, Jeff, I just want to share this for the audience. I've learned to create agents in ChatGPT. So I created a rule that said, if I ask you a question, I want you to tell me if there's a better way to ask the question than ask me that question. So it'll be kind of fun. I might do this after I interview and go back into there and say, "Hey, I'm Jeff, and everything you know about me and everything you found there, tell me about that." So that's what I love about collaborating with AI and your book, how you've done this. Let's just throw this out at you. In the book itself, can you hold it up there? Because we want to get you as the author holding your book up. And
Yeah.
just read the title out loud.
The last book written by a human, Becoming Wise in the Age of AI.
Just love it. Flip it over because the back the back is really cool too. There's like a sticky note attached to that. That's really awesome.
Yeah,
Thanks,
it's human.
Thanks,
Handwritten
Jeff.
note to all the readers. Yeah.
We do that so that we're going to do that 2 or 3 times so that you can repurpose this for promoting your book. That's how I honor you. In the book itself, again, Jeff signed it for me, which is a treat because this will be on the stack of books in my studio now perpetually for people to see. I found a few themes in there, and or symbols, and I wrote it down here. So it's interesting. The river Ganges and river and Ganges. I wrote down life, death, and rebirth. So I kind of got that out of what you said. The thing about the old game, I wrote down achievement illusion, which really I think brings it to a head for me. What you said, Jeff, is that there's parts of us who come from certain beginnings, and maybe it was put in us stories that aren't true, and we're looking for truly who we are. Let's ask you this: how did your identities as entrepreneur, bishop, because people don't know about that unless they read the book, husband and seeker, begin to conflict and then converge?
Yeah, it's a great question. I think that most identity is false. It's just not the root of who we are. And you could say that the heroic journey that we are each on and that humanity is collectively on is really about shedding these identities that don't really fit us perfectly. And so I think that there had always been some conflict in my inner self and what I felt like I had to project or do out in the world. These weren't bad things. It was just more of like the hustle culture and pushing and negotiating and making things happen. Whereas now I find myself very reflective and in a quiet space where I think that living in, number one, stillness, and number two, non-resistance to what is like the greatest marker of success. If you would have asked me a decade ago, I was starting to like feel that, but I would have said, okay, here's my 5-point plan to build this billion-dollar company. Here's how we're going to do this, whatever. I would have told you, here are all my goals. I would have given you a very outward focused plan. Now, as a 48-year-old guy in 2026, I'm telling you that stillness, presence, plus living in non-resistance is what I seek and what I find the most peace in and what I think success is. That's how I define success. So it's radically shifted. And that's been a very painful, transformative process. And the way that I weave my personal story into the collective story, because by the way, I think the book is only valuable in as much as readers see their story in mine, which I think they will.
Sure. Yeah.
In some ways, that is the collective crucible that AI is calling humanity to and through.
I love it.
What is different about our intelligence versus artificial intelligence? Who am I really in this confusing world? And what is reality made up of? These are the existential questions that I think AI is bringing us towards. And so if there's a divine purpose in AI, it's to act as a cosmic mirror, a reflection to humanity so that we can see ourselves more clearly and decide what path we want to go down. Do we want to triple and quadruple down on this old game of division and greed and hate? Or are we going to choose a better way? The road less traveled, you could say. I am saying let's take the road less traveled. And I'm also saying if we do, it will make all the difference.
Yeah, that was another great book too. You just brought up there, Road Less Traveled. I'm going to add to the stage here again my audio cam for studio cam, and I had a note written down here. Love. This is from the audiobook. I just made notes as I listened. Love, wisdom, compassion, then AI. And I think that's what I'm getting from the last thing you said, man. First of all, I honor you. I love you and your story, and the transformation that you've made is remarkable. And I don't think there's anybody out there after reading what you've done with your life, especially the investing part, that wouldn't say, I want to spend an hour with this guy. I certainly would. And I know that I'll meet you sometime. Let me throw this back to you. We're going to get into mezzo now, which is really the sector. So we've learned so much, everyone, about Jeff's himself. I hope you're starting to realize and learn the deeper undertones of who he is. So you've built and invested in over 100 companies. Correct me if I'm wrong. After those things,
like 200 actually now. Sorry, I've understated, but about 200 startups. Keep going. Yep,
that's amazing. And I mean the numbers are there. I saw something like I grew to $1 billion in market cap or whatever, but I'm sure it's bigger. But what blind spot or spots do you see now in how we build companies from everything you've learned and seen?
Yeah, I mean, whenever we build from a place of ego, we're building on a shaky foundation, and a foundation that will not last.
Yeah.
So that could bleed into everything. Whenever we're building from a foundation, I think of serving, let's say our fellow man, or serving other people. We're building on a foundation that lasts. So that was a very macro answer.
Yeah.
But obviously, if I'm a CEO today, I'm not only asking, how can AI help my company be more efficient and effective? That's a question you have to ask. But even on top of that, my question as a business leader is, how can AI help my company and the people within it, which is the purpose of business? The purpose of business is to serve individuals or families. And how can I ensure that the way that we're implementing and using AI adds to human flourishing within my company and in the world, instead of human diminishment or division, or at the very worst of worst, destruction? So that's the macro lens.
That's amazing.
That's the macro lens I would use to look at business. And it's easy to say, it's easy to talk about on a podcast when everything's beautiful here, but when the rubber meets the road, this is the heroic journey that we and leaders especially are being called on in the age of highly intelligent machines.
I love that. The hero's journey keeps coming up, and as you know from how I vetted to get you on the show, that the show's a big part built on the Joseph Campbell's work, Hero's Journey narrative, and this thing about threads in our stories. You challenged me in one way just now, man. I want to say this, that you said something about knowing ourselves, or learning more about who we really are, and using AI to flourish. So what came to mind was, in my business, and I have a platform, I won't promote it here because you know what it is, but you may know if you check me out that I had a brain injury in 2018. I fell on my head doing a ride for cancer, and it almost lost my life. Couldn't walk straight, couldn't talk. Wow. So I live with permanent vision disability. You wouldn't know it. My audience knows it because I've talked about it. So if I look down and up, it's a little latent, and I have light sensitivity, so it hurts. So what I did was I went into AI, and I prompted AI. I said, listen, I want you to adopt the role of Tom. Here's what happened to you. And I want you then to step into the role of a studio producer, podcaster, and tell me what challenges you might have and how to overcome them. And it gave me a couple nuggets. One of the things it talks about with the light sensitivity, it said, if I was in your shoes, go into your dashboard and turn down all your screens to this level. And then number two, if I were you, I would, if you're using a script to write notes for yourself, make them larger font. Like, these are things I would never have asked myself. And from all of that stuff, Jeff, and just some of the things I've got out of your book, I'm flourishing more just by saying, hey, I have a buddy here. And the last thing I'll say on it is, without AI, I'm by myself. They say it's lonely at the top as a CEO. You're lonely at the top. But now I have a mentor. I have somebody with me. So let me throw this one out to you. We're still in Mezzo. If AI is a mirror, Jeff, what uncomfortable truths is it reflecting back to us right now? You can use something you've learned through your mentoring or something regarding you personally or just general.
Let me just use the biggest example that I really got concerned about running for governor in the state of Utah. I would go from event to event and I would speak to groups large and small, from 10 to 1,000 people.
Yeah.
And I was shocked. Utah is a fairly homogeneous state.
Yeah.
I was shocked at how the almighty algorithm, I'll say, of social media was influencing division amongst neighbors. When this group of people that I was standing about in front of, and I say this in the book, that no matter, whenever we're with a fellow human being, we are on sacred ground. And no matter our differences, you're Canadian, I come from America, whatever all the differences, we both have the same badass haircut. But other than that, like
finally he says something.
we have a lot of differences. Those differences do not need to be our collective undoing. They are meant to bring interest, excitement, and beauty to this lived experience. Diversity brings interest, excitement, beauty. But just because you see things a little differently than me, just because you might be of a different faith tradition or a different political persuasion, that doesn't need to unwind us. And we've seen how social media does that. I was in New York on Fox News actually last week, and we talked about how the almighty algorithm has divided us and inflamed division amongst humans. So I think that's one of the biggest things the mirror is showing us. And I'm trying to, in the last book written by a human and in all of these public appearances and speeches and podcasts, et cetera, is remind people, no matter your differences, we're all a lot more alike. We are fellow travelers in existence.
I like that. Yeah.
And no matter how real AI may feel, which there's a lot of beauty and good in that, it hasn't felt lost, Tom, the way you and I have. It's never sustained a critical brain injury and it hasn't maybe loved, it has not loved in the way that we have. So I think that here with AI, luckily, as is often the case, the obstacle becomes the way. So AI is an obstacle that actually becomes a way for humans to remember how beautiful it is to be alive and how beautiful the messiness is, and to relish that and to lean into that, I hope, in the years to come.
Yeah, I like this concept or this whole topic of algorithm. We could spend a lot of time on this. I was talking to my last guest about this too, about finding truth. In my doctorate that I just completed, it was about finding identity, and I dug deep into media and truth. And the thing about AI, you said it's a mirror. I'm just curious, maybe there's a parallel here. Is there an AI, correct me if I'm wrong and educate us, but it's a large language model. It uses mathematics algorithms to I think, aggregate information. It finds information. Well, one might say all the information out there just comes out of human being. And so maybe there's an algorithm building in AI that's based on flaws in the human race. And so how do we challenge and prompt and ask questions? Talk about that.
Well, this is exactly why it's a reflection of us.
Yeah.
Let me just simplify this. And there are different, right now, the most predominant use of AI that the general population knows is through LLMs, large language learning models. I think that is going to change here in the next year, by the way, or two, and we don't necessarily need to go into that. But all an LLM is two things. One, all of collected human data for all of history, let's say, or whatever it's fed, but I'm just going to take a general, and then our interactions with it. And then it reflects. That's all it is.
Yeah.
Let me gather all human data. Let me see how Jeff interacts with me or Tom interacts with me, and then I provide a reflection. This is why it's or just one way to think of it is just a reflection of who we are. And
Wow.
as you've said in several ways, and I have had the same experience, that reflection can be powerful because it can help point out patterns or ideas, spark
Yeah.
ideas of things of ways that we can improve, the things that we want to change. So when we see the division that is being fed into the algorithm, and that the algorithm, which is AI, highlights division, we have to ask ourselves, wait a second, why is this? What part am I playing in this? Do I want to continue to feed this monster or beast, or do I want to lean into a higher truth or reality, in my humble opinion,
Yeah.
which is our divine oneness or unity, which is
Right.
at the root of, which is much more base layer than any differences of gender or socioeconomic class or political party, et cetera, et cetera. Uh, we are being called to lean into that in a better way, in a more proactive way. And if we do that, I think we will be able to evolve and transform our institutions, which form so much of the experience that we have here. That's education, politics, economics, etc. That's where I end the book, is how do we evolve the systems that are
Yeah.
on this earth?
Everybody here with author Jeff Burningham of this book, the last book written by a human. There we are in stereo. Beautiful book. That's a little tricky. Perfect.
Yeah.
Well, let's do this. I'll do the
Do you know who this artist is, by the way, Tom? This is one of the most famous modern artists in the world. His name's Mr. Brainwash. He lives in Beverly Hills. He became a dear friend. He
Really?
did this cover art all for me just for free because he believed in the message of the book.
That is
And
cool.
so, yeah, there are
Mr.
details in this book that you have to appreciate. Yeah, like you said, like the imperfect pages. Anyways, I feel like I'm not trying to sell the book. I'm not. I care deeply about the message, but I don't.
I'm gonna add to that and just say that most people won't know this, Jeff, unless you're an author. But an author's work isn't known unless we get reviews from people and people read it and we ask them to read it. So I encourage and I love that when you talk about it. Mr. Brainwash, that in itself is a cool brand. I didn't even pick up on that. It was interesting. There's a lot of pieces in the book. I just want to digress here. You've got these prompts, and there's one on page 164. Can you just open or I'll do it.
No, I'll open to it. Yeah, go ahead.
164. It's called Only One Rule. Can you just read it out? We love to have authors reading, so we'll just get this as a moment.
Is there a prompt? I have 168 as a prompt.
Oh, hang on a second. Yeah, sorry, it's 168. That's right. Just
how and where are you currently causing harm? How can you change and rectify that? Is this what you wanted, Tom?
Yeah.
How often do you let lesser rules sow division in your heart and come between you and other humans?
Wow. So I'm going to just answer that. The reason why I'm bringing this up, everyone, is I like the way the book's organized, but in each chapter, there's this prompt, as if it's AI prompting you. And so you're really challenging me. I'm just doing this off the top of my head to honor this work you did. So how and where are you currently causing harm? I live sometimes in my life where there's this constant sense of fear. And those who know my story, my dad was military, but he was an addicted alcoholic. So I went through a pretty rough childhood. Mm-hmm. So I tend to, when people get aggressive and things, I tend to not show the real Tom. Even though I was a CEO in my career, I tend to, I think, cause harm because I'm not challenging sometimes, or I'm not putting out what I really feel. There's a big parts of your book that are teaching people how to look in the mirror. So I that's the first thing. How can you change and rectify that? Man. I mean, I believe, and it's what you've talked about in the book, that what happens between two people, it's in the space between us where we can take our knowledge from our heads. I believe I embody it, think about it, and then new knowledge is created, and I can turn that into action in my life. And then how often do you let lesser rules sow division in your heart and come between you and other humans? I'm right with you on that. One of the things I'm doing really hard now, because I'm in the media space, is I've got subscriptions to a lot of podcasts and things. And man, it's killing me. But for example, I'll just take a peek at a podcast story, and then the algorithm would say, "Oh, Tom likes that, so I'm going to give him all that," and it's all shit. And so I think the thing that's slowing the vision is I'm letting that creep, or I have let it creep into me. And I'll just finish and put a bow on this. And this is how your book really is helping me. That when I reflect on this, one prompt, I'm a guy who gets triggered because I have like PTSD, post-childhood trauma. I've known about all my life. I'm a guy who gets triggered by difficult people, by people who sometimes appear to be what they're not, challenging. Then I've got this algorithm thing influencing me at times. And so I'm letting that come between me and other people at times. And so I can make some big shifts on that comment.
Yeah, I think we all do that. We all armor up to protect our soft spots. We've all been hurt. You know, the common woundedness of humanity is real.
Yeah.
It's up to us to recognize our own wounds, how we armor up and then protect ourselves and usually hurt others in the process. Or do we soften up and let transformation take hold?
Yeah.
And cool. By the way, let me just say for this prompt, it makes me think of my faith tradition and any faith tradition.
Yeah.
Because whenever we put an artificial barrier between two humans in the age of AI, I don't think that's the right answer. We need humans to gather together. It's going to be harder and harder to have in real life experiences. So if we continue to, well, this person doesn't dress right, they don't, whatever, speak right, exactly. You know, those are divisions that we need to let go to bring people together, which is where it's really in human relationship where we can transform and grow and evolve.
Yeah, no, that's great. I'm just going to put a different camera view on here for a sec for a reason. You see a lot of books there. Those are all books that come through the studio that I've read for people like you who come on. This one here is always on my shelf. And you know, Jeff, we won't get into talking about faith as much because we don't have that much time. But what I like about your book is you are a bishop and you talk about your Mormon faith, but there's a thread through your book which I really appreciate. And when I had my injury, one of the things I turned to was the Bible to start reading it and realizing that it teaches me how to be a good human. When they talk about walking in the Word and how you treat people and how you forgive, I think it's great. And so I really appreciate some of the threads in your book. Let's get into the last segment here, which is the macro. This is the global. So we're kind of looking at what are some of the impacts of the world that affected your public work. Are we entering a collective life, death, rebirth cycle as a species?
Yes.
Wow.
I think so. I mean, that's why I wrote the book. That's why I'm really kind of pivoting my career here. I still am the chairman of all my companies.
Yeah.
I was in the office all day yesterday, but I'm really spending a majority of my time on conversations like this. And I'm already writing a second book. So I think that I'm trying to prepare us for that. Yeah.
Yeah. There's
what's beautiful is whenever there's rebirth is always on the other side of death, in my opinion. And so we can be reborn in a better way here if we allow it to. And I think there are also more peaceful ways to die than others. We can decide if we go down kicking and screaming and punching, everyone and with a lot of hate and vengeance, or if we let this collective death come peacefully so that we can be reborn in a more transformed and evolved way. I think that AI provides a real opportunity, and I say this in the book, to upgrade humans' existence. I think that's what we're working on here. Think of it as a global system-wide upgrade that could come if we do it wisely.
Yeah, that's as you were speaking, I opened the book again, and for some reason I thought about your wife Sally and the dedication to it. Says, to all the masters, my favorite of whom is my precious wife Sally. My wife and I on next week are celebrating our 30th anniversary. And it's not a straight line up, but man, after what I've been through in my life, we are each other's strength. Mm-hmm. So just talk about that, how she's played into your entire life.
Yeah, I mean, you could say that without her, I'm almost nothing. I mean, you could say that, and I say that in the book. I really view her as my, quote unquote
Yeah.
guru.
Yeah.
While I was out winning awards that didn't really matter, um, building companies, making money, whatever, all the things that I was supposed to do, she was quietly taking care of a tired or sick or sad child. I talked about being a bishop. I was a very young bishop in the Mormon faith, congregation of 500. I was in my late 20s. I came home from Sundays counseling with people, and I'd be in emotional shock.
Wow.
She would pick me up, pull me into her arms, and just love me unconditionally and kind of
Yeah.
rebuild my faith in humanity. So I really just can't say enough about
Interesting.
Sally. I feel like she's my soulmate, and I feel like we've kind of done this before and may do it again. We're like learning with each other.
Yeah,
And yeah, I just could not give her enough credit. I hope you felt that in the book.
I
I'm
did.
sure you did.
There,
Yeah.
there's method to my entire madness here, and I brought up Sally because she was a big part of that. Came out of the book, and also because I'm running into my 30th anniversary. I was thinking a lot about what do I do next week with my wife in terms of something special, etc. And you know what? One of the things I thought of when I read the book about how I came up with this thought in my mind about Sally, that she helped you grow and helped
Yeah.
you outgrow and grow again. And my wife's from Italy, born in Rome, and I met her in the banking industry here. And I found an olive plant, a miniature olive plant at a local place I go. And
I
she
love
doesn't
it.
know this. She doesn't know it. Hopefully she's not watching that, but I'm going to give it to her. And that's so the roses will symbolize the 30 years. The olive plant, you know where I'm going. It's going to.
Yeah.
It's the next stage of growth. I couldn't do my life without her. I love her dearly.
That's beautiful. Beautiful.
Thank you. I appreciate that. So going back to we're still in macro here. This new humanity. What is the just generally? What is the new game humanity must learn to play? Is there any thought you have on that?
Yeah, this book was written to be a conversation starter, to have conversations
Yeah.
like this in boardrooms and political offices, and certainly around the dinner table. And it has sparked a lot of that. It's been a national bestseller. I've done a lot of media and a
Congratulations.
lot of talks. Thank you. And oh yeah, man, raise the roof. So it was meant to be a conversation starter that potentially turned into or became a movement of humans that want
Yeah.
to slow down a little bit and to re-examine where we're headed and to start to build from a stronger foundation or a more clear understanding of what's going on. So in my opinion, the new game is all around awareness. It's around waking up, it's around presence, stillness, like I said, and it's based on love.
Yeah.
The old game was based on greed and achievement and accolades, whatever the case may be. The new game is that, in my opinion, it's the game that I'm trying to play every day, and it's the game that I'm encouraging other people to join in on. And let's see what beautiful future we can create together.
Yeah. Yeah.
AI can be a partner in helping us do that. It could also, unfortunately, be a partner in the opposite way. If we aren't wise here.
No, I understand, and I really challenge people based on what Jeff's telling us about AI and how to use it as a mirror to use it the right way. But the people aren't using it to challenge their thinking and to find the truth in the other side of themselves. I want to remark that in the book you've got a section at the end which I really like called reading list, and there's several books on there. I won't get into it. People can get this. How did you come up with the books on your reading list, and do you read a lot? I assume you do.
I do read a lot. A lot of it is listening now and Audible. I love to be mountain biking or snow skiing or golfing, a flow activity in nature, and listening. And so, yes, I'm an avid reader, and those books are some of my favorites. Eckhart Tolle, Awareness by Anthony DeMello. And then I really loved Rick Rubin's Creative Act. It talked a lot about the artistic process. And as a former entrepreneur, deal maker, CEO kind of guy, there's some art in that, but this was definitely the most creative project I had ever undertaken writing this book. And I really viewed this as a little piece of art. It was the best art that I could make at the time. It's
Very
my
cool.
offering to the divine. And when I say the divine, I'm saying to humanity, because I think we're all divine. And so, yeah, that's how I viewed it. And those are some of the books that kind of helped me get there and that I love and recommend.
Yeah. No, just riffing back on you. Eckhart Tolle came to town here. They filled their big convention center a couple of years ago. My wife and I went. You literally 10,000 people in a room, and you could hear a pin drop. The guy's incredible. So thank you for sharing that. I want to add one book, throw it out there to everybody. You and I were just talking about civilizations, and there's a book my professor had me read called Why Civilizations Fail by William Ophuls. It's a beautiful little book, she called it. It's only about 75 pages. But one of the threads in there that I got from your book too is you got to really look hard at why do civilizations fail? And it's human. It's humans. It's not because of machines. I went through the several sectors. I've worked in 5 sectors, Jeff, but when ATMs came in the banking industry, it disrupted. And in telecom, I worked there, and there's disruptions everywhere. But I really like what you said in that it's a mirror. These technologies are mirrors for us to learn more about who we really are, but you need to embrace it. What would last question in the macro, what would a wiser civilization actually feel like? I know that's a big question, but what do you think it would feel like if everybody was a lot wiser?
I think it would feel like home.
Wow.
Again, I can give one word, yes. The answer I'd give to this, I could elaborate, but I think it would feel like home.
Nice. We're going to put a live comment on the screen here, just came in. This fellow here is on LinkedIn, chatted with us. So true, a generational leap is occurring. Let's really think about where we want to go and why. AI is an opportunity. Thank you, Dylan, for that comment and for joining us here. All right. Hey, listen, we're going to honor you with a couple things. Did you know you were going to get an award today?
I didn't. I'm sorry, but I don't need any. It's been my pleasure to just be with you, Tom,
Okay.
to have this rich conversation.
You're a humble guy, but it is going to come at the end. So I'm going to ask the people watching to stay on. But before that, we're going to. Sorry, I lost my eyes. Just wandered on me here. I just want to make sure I have where I want to go next here. Yeah, let's put this on the screen. So Jeff. We've talked a lot about the book, the last book written by a human. Congratulations on its bestseller status. I know what that might entail. So we're now going to release live a international review on the show for your book. From me. So
thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. So I'm going to put it on the screen, and everybody get the book, and you got to write reviews because it gets the bookstores and the agents, the publishers saying there's something going on with that book. Let's get it. So I'm just going to read it out loud. I'll read it off my paper, but it's on the screen here. So this is a 5-star international review, and the title of the review. And by the way, what you're looking at is the Audible feed, so you can post reviews directly on Audible.
Thank you.
And I'll put it on Amazon as well. So the title is A Profound Wake-Up Call. The last book written by a human is not a book about AI. It's a book about us, about what happens when the identities we cling to fall apart and the truth finally has room to speak. Jeff Burningham brings the authenticity of a leader who has built, lost, succeeded, fallen apart, been reborn. His journey from billion-dollar boardrooms to the burning ghats of the Ganges is unforgettable. This book is a mirror and a map. It shook something loose in me. It reminded me that wisdom, not intelligence, is a frontier that AI cannot cross. One of the most human books of our time. I would rate it higher if I could. Congratulations.
Thank you, Tom. That means a lot. And like you said, those mean a lot to I'm a first-time author, so that means a lot. I hope Dylan and other people in the chat will check out the book and share their thoughts and continue the conversation with me. I'm not hard to find on social media at Jeff Burningham everywhere. So yeah.
Yeah, we'll put that in the show notes. So congratulations. If you go to Audible now, you can see that review. It's right there. I'm proud of it to have contributed. And for your next book, if you want an advanced review or anything at all, we're connected for life. let's go into there's two more quick things, and then there'll be the award for you. And this is a segment I started months ago, and I'm liking it, and people are liking it. It's called Unwritten Book Question, and you teased it. So, Jeff, your book suggests AI is forcing us to confront who we really are. If you were to write a sequel titled "The First Book Written by a New Human," what truth would you reveal that you haven't yet had the courage to write?
I want to, in my second book, I'm exploring the profound connection, I would say, between our humanity and our tools like AI. And it's specifically with AI, how we are really bringing, let's say, this is one way to think of it, we're bringing the economy of ethics of, I'm going to say, quote unquote, heaven or God down closer to earth. And what does that mean for us? How do we handle that process? And so that's what I'll be exploring in my second book. Yeah.
Oh, we'll have to have you back. And now we're going to get into the last question. This is called the Warrior's Torch segment. We started it again just recently, and it's really taken off. And that is, the last guest has left a question for you, Jeff, and we're going to get from you, hopefully offline. You can get it to me quickly for the next guest. So here we go. Drum roll, please. Have you overcome your greatest fear? What is it, and how did you do it?
I think overcome is a strong word. I think working with it and understanding it better, I'll be humble and say that's where I'm at. I've come a long way. And I think my greatest fear is that, I'm alone, or to be alone. Wow. And there's an existential component of this. Kind of, you could think of in God's view, as God alone? Does it feel alone? And how does that relate to my being? Like Jeff Burningham, the person, the identity, the character, whatever you want to say. How does that relate to me? And how do I grapple with that? If this is all kind of a creation that I'm a part of, what responsibility do I hold? And what is my responsibility to, again, I'll say, other fellow travelers that are in a similar spot and are grappling with some of these very deep existential fears? My fears are definitely around like bigger existential like questions, not necessarily things on earth or I'm a little bit of a daredevil. Obviously, I have guts, running for governor, releasing this book. So yeah, that I would say that was my biggest fear. Did I answer the question?
Yeah, you did. It's very, very profound. And in fact, I'm going to email the previous guests to go watch the replay on this to see it. It's a really profound answer. So thank you. This part about being alone, you triggered something in me too, to think. And yeah, I spend a lot of time thinking through that. So that'll be left with me as a gift. Let's, we're close to wrapping up here. Let's do the award. Just going to make sure I got it all set here. So I got to put a second camera on the screen here, Jeff.
Oh.
Okay, there we go. All right, this is a studio cam again. You can see that I got a pad of paper here now. We're full of Jeff-isms. Really enjoyed.
Thanks. Yeah, it's been my pleasure. It's been fun. Yeah.
All right. So have you heard of challenge coins?
I haven't.
Okay. Well, this is great because sometimes people come and say, yeah, I have. Next time I ask you that, by the way, Jeff, you go, yeah, Tom Dutta told me.
Yeah.
Okay.
Tom Dutta, my brother from another mother. Butter.
Exactly.
Yeah, I like that at the beginning. Yeah.
Perfect. You're going to get this in it. It's a sleeve that came with it. These were hand painted, crafted, and minted in the United States. They're hefty. I'll show you in a minute. The history of challenge coins, Jeff. Challenge coins surfaced during the World War I era. The practice of carrying a coin designed specifically for a unit was popular with the Army Special Forces. My dad being in the Army, I know. Carrying the coin at all times and presenting it when challenged to prove affiliation with the unit resulted in a number of consequences for those who could not produce a coin. The most popular one, Jeff, required the coinless soldier to buy a round of drinks. And apparently that practice continues. I've seen people
For
and
a
I've-
Mormon guy, that's a challenge, but I can do it. Yeah, I've got to carry this coin. Yeah, keep going.
So there, the front of it, all hand painted and crafted,
That's beautiful.
and then the back of it,
Cool.
you're going to get this because it's Joseph Campbell's Hero's Journey
Oh, I
narrative.
love it.
It's
Yeah,
the
I
map.
love that. Thank you. Thank you.
And so that'll come to you offline. I'll get your address. And so congratulations. Welcome to the Quiet Warrior community.
Thank you for having me, Tom. It's my honor to be here with you.
My honor too, man. And we're connected for life. So that's not just a statement. As you know, I vet hard. People don't just come on the show. We're booked out 4 months now. And that any way to amplify your voice, to get your message out there, and to come back and to keep this relationship, I appreciate it. What we'll be doing next, just so the audience knows, is this is accessible. So unlike podcasts or just audios, you can go to the YouTube feed and see the replay right away. Jeff, we're going to produce it, leave it at core, make it look a little pretty. And then we're going to release it as a video premiere on Rumble, YouTube, as an audio across global RSS feeds, all of them. And because I think this is one of the better ones I've done, we're going to wrap a viral clip campaign around it with 1 minute to 2 minute viral clips taken from it. And we'll schedule that over 2 weeks to amplify and create this excitement. So more
Awesome.
on that.
Thank you.
More on that for the future.
Yeah, please share those with me so that I can amplify
Absolutely.
it as well.
Yeah. So after we close this down, don't go away. Just say goodbye to you offline. But everyone, find the true purpose like you've seen and hopefully read or will read through the work Jeff Burningham is doing, and live that life that you deserve and desire. And Jeff, it's been a treat. I love you, man. Thanks for coming on the show today. We'll see you again.
Yeah, Tom, it's great to be with you.
All right. Stand by.
Thank you for listening to the Quiet Warrior Show. Create is a motive-based leadership development firm. www.kreat.ca.
Right, stand by. I'm going to take it offline now, just ending the stream on the dashboard here. And stream, click. And we're still live, so stand by.